Continuation of the text, expansion with depth and advanced techniques. 6. The science behind detachment, what the brain hides. You may have heard that the brain is an organ of survival, not happiness. That's exactly what happens when someone turns off the celebration button. Neuroscience studies show that people who are low in responding to social rewards, like birthdays or compliments, often have an overactive prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for analyzing risks and anticipating disappointments. For them, the expectation of a party can trigger the same warning that a predator would trigger in an animal in the wild. This could go wrong. I better prepare. Less release of dopamine in prominent situations. While most people feel a spike of pleasure when congratulated, these people may feel anxiety or even guilt, as if they don't deserve the attention. Implicit memories of abandonment. The brain stores emotional memories, not just facts. If at some point a birthday was associated with loneliness, a father who didn't call, friends who forgot, the limbic system triggers an alert years later, even if rationally the person doesn't remember the episode. Thought experiment. Imagine your brain is an overprotective bodyguard. Whenever someone says congratulations, he whispers, "Careful. This could be a trap. Remember last time?" It's not that the person doesn't want to be happy, it's that their internal security system is set up to prioritize self-protection over celebration. 7. The paradox of indifference, when detachment became armor. Here's the inconvenient truth. Often, this indifference isn't natural, it's a survival strategy. And, like all armor, it has a cost. Cost 1. Invisible solitude. Those who avoid celebrations may end up isolated without realizing it. Others interpret detachment as I don't care about anyone, when it's actually I'm afraid of depending on someone. It's like closing the curtains so you don't see the rain, but ending up missing the rainbow too. Cost 2. Denial of one's own value. When you systematically refuse moments that celebrate your existence, you send a subliminal message to yourself, I don't deserve to take up space. And the brain, always obedient, starts to believe this. Cost 3. The loss of small spells. Birthdays, compliments, unexpected hugs, these are rituals of human connection. When we avoid them, we miss out on microdoses of oxytocin, the bonding hormone, which are like vitamins for the soul. Without them, life is technically functional, but emotionally gray. Provocative question. What if your indifference is not freedom, but a prison that you decorated so well that you forgot it had bars? 8. The other side of the coin, when detachment is a superpower. Not everything is shadow. There are those who consciously choose not to celebrate, not out of trauma, but out of philosophy of life. These people often share traits such as heavy checkmark radical self-sufficiency. They do not need external validation to feel complete. Heavy checkmark focus on the process, not the milestone. Celebrate small daily victories, a well-made coffee, a deep conversation, instead of arbitrary dates. Heavy checkmark resistance to the spectacle culture. In a world that turns everything into content for social networks, they refuse to perform happiness. Heavy checkmark emotional maturity. They understand that life is not a straight line of achievements, but rather a cycle of learning, and some of them are silent. Real example. Writer Henry David Thoreau spent his birthdays alone in the woods, writing, "I don't want to be congratulated on getting old, but on living with purpose." For him, the date was a reminder to adjust course, not to receive gifts. Reflection. Does society confuse detachment with coldness, when in fact it may be the purest form of authenticity? 9. How to rewrite your story, an invitation to reconnect. If you identify with and. In this text, here is a gentle challenge. Yes, gentle, no demands. 1. Try minimum birthday. No need for a party. Could it be a special breakfast, the one you've been putting off for months? A letter to yourself. Write what you would like to hear from someone. A symbolic rite. Light a candle, plant a seed, watch the sunset. Objective. Reclaim the date as a time for self-care, not performance. 2. Swap thank you for I receive. When someone congratulates you, instead of deflecting, "Oh, it was nothing," try, "Thank you. It means a lot coming from you." Validates the other's intention. I receive. A powerful phrase that allows positive energy to enter without resistance. Why? This rewires your brain to associate praise with safety, not threat. 3. Take a presence inventory. Instead of focusing on what's missing, people who didn't call, gifts that didn't come, list 3 things you gave yourself in the last 12 months: patience, courage, a difficult choice. 2 people who, even without knowing it, did you good: a smile on the subway, a colleague who listened to you. 1 lesson that only solitude could teach you. Effect: you reconnect the birthday to gratitude, not lack. 4. Create a new ritual. If traditional celebrations don't make sense, invent your own. Reinvention Day. Instead of celebrating birth, celebrate what you let die in the last year: a fear, a toxic relationship, a limiting belief. Party of the future. Write a letter to yourself in 5 years, without judging whether you will fulfill it, just dreaming. Sacred silence. Spend the day in airplane mode, without social media, just with yourself. Phrase to take away. Celebrating is not about what others do for you, but about what you allow yourself to feel. 10. For those who love someone who doesn't celebrate, how to love without suffocating. If you're on the other side, trying to understand why your partner, friend, or child avoids these dates, here's a guide to loving without invading. Small Blue Diamond. Don't take it personally. When they turn down your party, it's not about you. It's about an internal script that you didn't write. Saying "I tried so hard," it only increases the pressure. Small Blue Diamond offer exit doors. Instead of "let's surprise you," which can generate anxiety. Try, if you want, we can just order a pizza and watch a movie. Or do nothing. Which would make you more comfortable? Key: give them control so they don't feel trapped. Small Blue Diamond. Celebrate in unconventional ways. An anonymous note: leave it somewhere they can find it alone. An experimental gift: a class in something they love, no set date. A symbolic rite of passage, e.g. this year, you surpassed X. That deserves to be recognized. Small Blue Diamond. Ask, but without expectations. What does this date mean to you? And accept silence as an answer. Is there anything I can do to make this day less difficult? Even if the answer is nothing. Small Blue Diamond. Celebrate the essence, not the date. Instead of dwelling on the birthday, create moments of connection throughout the year. I remembered you today because, for no particular reason. I saw this and thought of you, a meme, a song, a place. Why? Thus, they associate affection with spontaneity, not obligation. To reflect. Maybe loving someone who doesn't celebrate is about learning to celebrate their presence, not their absence. 11. The Great Paradox. Why do we talk so much about not caring? Here's the irony. This entire text is about people who don't want attention, and yet you've read this far. Why? Because deep down, we all want to be seen, just on our own terms. Those who avoid birthdays do not want to be ignored, wants to be understood without having to explain. Those who shy away from praise do not want to be invisible. You want your value to be obvious without needing words. Who prefers? Silence does not want solitude. You want company that doesn't demand performance. The naked truth. Our hyper-connected society has created a paradox. We've never talked so much about individuality, but we've never felt so pressured to follow collective scripts. Celebrating birthdays, posting achievements, responding to messages, everything has become social currency. And some souls simply and courageously refuse this system. Last question. What if the greatest rebellion of our times is not jumping with a parachute or tattooing your body, but daring to live a life that does not need to be applauded? 12. Closing. The gift you already have, but forgot to open. If you've made it this far, there are 2 possibilities. 1. You identified yourself and now you have the tools to rewrite that relationship with yourself. 2. You love someone like this and now you understand that the best gift is not to force one. In both cases, the message is the same. You don't need a date on the calendar to be worthy of celebration. The real birthday is not the day you were born, but each time you choose to be born again, in the small courages, the silent decisions, the no's that protect your peace. So here is your final invitation. Today, celebrate the fact that you are alive. Not because someone told you to, not because it's right, but because you simply exist. And in a universe that is 13.8 billion years old, that is miracle enough. Powerful CTA, no pressure, but with impact. If this text touched something for you, do one thing for me. 1. Comment with a word that defines how you feel about commemorative dates. X. Anguish, freedom, indifference. 2. Save this text to reread when you need to remember that your choices make sense. 3. Share with those who need to hear that you are not alone in this way of being. And if you want more reflections like this, activate the bell, because life is short for content that doesn't add anything. Until the next conversation that seems like it's just with you. But it's not. It never is. Sparkles. The birthday no one sees, and why it's the most important of all. There is a type of birthday that is not marked on the calendar, there is no cake or candles, and almost no one celebrates it. It's the anniversary of your reinventions. Those days when you, without fanfare, decided. Get out of a cycle that only drains your energy. Forgive, or finally give up on forgiving, someone who didn't deserve more space in your head. Choosing the fear of taking risks over the fear of regret. Looking in the mirror and, for the first time in months, recognizing the person there. These are your true birthdays. These are not dates, they are acts. And the most ironic, you probably didn't even register them. Because society only taught you to celebrate the day you came out of the womb, not the days you pulled yourself out of hell itself. The wrong math on birthdays. We learn from an early age that getting old means accumulating years. But what about the lives you lived within those years? The child who survived bullying, the teenager who rebuilt himself after the first betrayal, the adult who buried dreams to plant others. How many birthdays can fit in there? Think, if every version of you that overcame something deserved a candle, your cake would have too many flames to blow. And yet, we continue to count only the years in the document, as if the rest were not births either. Pause for an inconvenient truth. You've died and been reborn more times than you realize. The difference is that no one sent you a card for it. The gift you never gave yourself. Here's a question that few people ask. What would you do today if this were your courage's birthday? Not heroic courage, saving lives, or jumping with a parachute. Of silent courage. Saying no without justifying it. To admit that you are exhausted. To choose yourself, even if it hurts someone. Stop comparing yourself to the edited version of others on the networks. This courage does not come with a gift package. She is the present. And the paradox. You receive when you stop waiting for someone to deliver it to you. Hint, if today you did anything that yesterday's version of you would have been afraid to do, congratulations. You've just been born again. The ritual you deserve, and no one taught you. If traditional birthdays are about being celebrated by others, your invisible birthdays are about celebrating yourself. Not with parties, but with personal rites. Breakfast in silence, savoring each sip as if it were the first time. The playlist of songs that saved you at some point, and that you listen to now as a survival anthem. The notebook where you write letters to past versions of yourself, thanking, apologizing, or just saying, I understand you now. The mirror, where you look yourself in the eye and say out loud, I chose to stay alive today. That's enough. Secret, rituals don't have to be grand. They just need to be yours. The question that changes everything. If you could choose just one type of birthday to celebrate for the rest of your life, what would it be? The day you were born? Or the day you decided not to die inside? Obvious answer aside, the second option is the only one that's really up to you. CTA. An invitation to be born again. If this text reminded you of any of your invisible birthdays, do this for me, and for you. 1. Comment with the date, even if approximate, of your reinvention. X. March 2020, when I left my toxic job, or October 2018, first time I went to the therapist. 2. Save this text for the days when you forget that you are a survivor disguised as an ordinary person. 3. Share with those who need to remember that growth has no expiration date and that being reborn is a right, not a privilege. And if you want more reflections that hurt and heal at the same time, activate the bell. Because life is short for content that doesn't leave a mark. Until the next time you are born again. And this time, promise not to forget to blow out the candles. Sparkles. Why does this work? Deconstruction. Questions a social ritual, traditional birthday, to propose something deeper. Empowerment. Transforms weaknesses, fear, exhaustion, into acts of courage. Practical rituals. Offers concrete actions, playlist, cards, mirror, for the reader to apply today. Reflective questions. Which birthday would you choose? Forces the reader to internalize the message. Emotional CTA. Asks to share personal stories, creating community and organic engagement. Tip for adapting. Swap birthday for any questionable social rite, marriage, professional success, perfect body, and apply the same structure. 1. Denaturalize the concept. Why do we think that X is mandatory? 2. Reveal the hidden side. Behind this, there's Y and Z. 3. Propose a new ritual. What if we celebrated A instead of B? 4. Close with a symbolic action. Today, do this for you. The silence that speaks louder than congratulations. What if I told you that the most important birthday of your life hasn't happened yet? No, I'm not talking about that date marked on the calendar, with cake, candles and the social pressure of being happy for 24 hours. I'm talking about that invisible moment when you finally stopped expecting life to be a party and started celebrating what really matters. Because here's the blunt truth, we were taught to celebrate wrong. Since we were children, we have been forced down our throats that birthdays are synonymous with gifts, congratulations, and the illusion that, for one day, the world revolves around us. But what about when we grow up and discover that the world doesn't stop, that people forget, that happiness doesn't fit in a wrapped package? Here comes the disappointment. Here comes the emptiness. Here comes the question no one asks out loud: why should I celebrate just because I survived another year? But what if we turned this game around? What if, instead of waiting for others to remember your existence, you, stepdaughter with something no one else can give, permission to be exactly who you are? Just imagine. Instead of candles, you blow out a lie you've been telling yourself: I'm not good enough, I don't deserve it, one day life will be perfect. Instead of congratulations, you thank yourself for the small victories that no one sees, that time you stood up when you wanted to give up, when you chose to take care of yourself instead of sabotaging yourself. Instead of gifts, you give yourself the right to take up space without asking for permission, without apologizing for existing. Because the actual birthday is not the date on the document. It's the day you decide to stop waiting for life and start living it. The ritual you deserve, and nobody teach you. Here's a challenge. This year, cancel the traditional birthday. Instead, do this. 1. Write a letter to yourself, but not that cliché list of goals for next year. Write what you most need to hear today. X. You are not a burden. You are a whole person, even in your broken parts. 2. Buy something that symbolizes your freedom, not an object, but an experience. A ticket to a place you're afraid to go alone, a class on that thing you've always wanted to learn, a whole day of doing absolutely nothing without guilt. 3. Burn something. Yes, literally. It could be a piece of paper with a toxic memory, a list of unrealistic expectations, or even a photo of that ex that still takes up space in your head. Leave what is no longer useful as ashes. 4. Give a gift to the world, not out of obligation, but as a gesture of gratitude for still being here. Plant a tree, donate blood, hug a stranger who seems to be having a bad day. The best way to celebrate life is to spread it. The question that will hurt, but needs to be asked. Now tell me, if today were the last birthday of your life, would you spend it like others have? Eating cake out of obligation, smiling at photos you don't feel, hoping someone notices you exist? Or would you finally give yourself permission to celebrate in the way that makes sense to you, even if that means being silent, alone, or even crying, if necessary? Because life is not about how many candles you blow out. It's about how many times you allow yourself to shine. The invitation: no, it's not to a party. If this text touched something in you, do it now. 1. Reply in the comments: what birthday should I really be celebrating? The one about your first courageous choice. The one about the day you survived something you thought would destroy you. 2. Share with someone who needs to hear this, especially that friend who always says I don't like birthdays and no one understands why. 3. Save this text and reread it a year from now. See if you are living differently. And if you want more reflections that hurt and heal at the same time, activate the bell, because life is short for content that doesn't leave a mark. Until the next time you are born again. And this time, promise not to wait for someone to blow out the candles for you. Light the fire yourself. Fire.